What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York, Invading Columbus, Ohio for Sonic Temple Fest. And today we return, after a long month and a half, we return with Shvpes.
We're back.
Yeah, woo, 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 woo. Happy to be here.
Yeah.
We're here.
Like I just saw you guys 2 days ago with Alien Weaponry at St. Vitus.
Yeah. Oh, that show was sick.
It feels like that.
Yeah.
That did happen, didn't it?
You know, it feels like it, and it was 2 days ago.
That's a fact.
I mean,
Time flies.
yeah, right. You know what I mean?
And that was a sick show, too.
It was good. Yeah. It was good because it was just our two bands, so it was just a good vibe. Good vibe.
Just like today.
Yeah, so it feels like it's just us and System of a Down, if anything.
Instead of 2 bands, it's more like 200 bands.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a few. The show today was sick. So cool. Big old crowd as far as the eye could see.
Can't go wrong.
Not quite, but.
And that led me to my first question, because this is actually the first festival I've ever worked doing press, and it's completely different than doing press at like a concert. For you guys, how different is playing a festival versus like playing on like a regular tour like that Crown the Empire tour or something?
It's probably the same for you. It's basically like a gig on steroids. So essentially it's like everything that you have in a normal gig just blown up and blown massively out. So it's great because you get to play in front of other people's fans. So it's like the longest bill, and you get to play in front of fans that probably would never have heard of your music otherwise. So it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, it's great exposure for us, and as you say, loads of fans. We don't know what to expect at these festivals when we turn up, and we're just the boys, you know what I mean? And then we got a big old crowd, so it's very cool.
Did you try any of the good festival food yet? It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. That is a bonus. Catering at festivals, always top notch, always.
Yeah, we live for that.
Yeah,
exactly. Better than the Wendy's that you have to stop on the road when you're touring North America.
If festivals had a Taco Bell, I think that would just make it a little bit better for us.
I've never heard somebody from out of the United States say that ever.
No one in the US seems to like Taco Bell, but
it's weird,
our first ever US store, love Taco Bell more than a lot of things. So.
We've eaten it 50% of the time.
Yeah, easy.
Well, in America, we're obsessed with European bands. I guess in Europe, you guys are just obsessed with American fast food franchises.
Absolutely, I love Taco Bell. Big up.
I've been basically doing a fast food tour of this country.
Just play at every McDonald's and Taco Bell.
I'll do it.
Now, in a more serious note now, actually,
okay.
One thing I was really curious about that I forgot to actually ask you guys last time, when I saw you guys live, those 2 times with Alien Weaponry and with Crown the Empire, I thought it was a completely different experience than listening to Greater Than through my headphones. How different is it playing live for you guys versus like in the studio or a practice space?
It's a good question. We try and just put on the same show wherever we are, but yeah, it's different. It's different for us, but at the same time, we just do what we always do.
I think it's quite hard to capture energy on a record. I think that's one of the hardest things to do with any record, is to capture that live element of energy that you can only bring live. And I think that Greater Than, it definitely brought as much energy, but I think when you play it live, it just gives it that extra notch. I think that's something we always bring with our live set. It's just smash out that extra little bit. You
guys are definitely, like on the times I've seen, you guys are moving around quite a bit.
We sweat a lot.
Do you do that in the studio too?
Yeah, no, not really. Just sat in our pajamas.
Watch the compressor.
Yeah, exactly.
That's our studio. Knocking cups of coffee over.
Yeah, literally.
Now, one thing that I wanted to mention actually is because, when I saw you guys on the Alien Weaponry show, which is very different audience than Crown the Empire, We Came as Romans, have you noticed maybe a different type of audience depending on the bills that you've been on, especially on a festival like this with a bunch of other different bands?
Yeah, I think there is definitely a different element. We only played those 2 shows with Alien Weaponry. We noticed the audience were a bit older, a bit more mature. So there are a lot of like Sepultura, Soulfly fans in the crowd. So it was different because the Crown the Empire tour and We Came as Romans was a lot of younger crowd. So there was a definite difference. But it was quite nice to see that both elements, both fans enjoyed it equally, which is quite good for us because it shows that we're not stuck in a certain range. Our dynamic of audience is actually quite big, so it's quite good for us to experience 2 different sides.
Yeah, you're right. It's both ends of the spectrum, the stand and watch crowd, and then the get involved. But we can do both, so yeah.
Well, what I've noticed is because your music has a lot of different vibes, it has a lot of different sounds. You have a hard rock sound, you have a metal side, you have a metalcore, a hardcore grit. I feel like you guys can play with like a variety of different bands depending.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest thing. But yeah, like you don't really want to get pigeonholed, really. But if you can kind of cross boundaries, and you're on a good path, really.
Yeah, totally.
Now, one thing I also really was curious about with, being that there were so many different sounds incorporated with Greater Than, do you think, would you consider yourselves an experimental band? Is it a little bit easier to try new things, like in the future? I know it's just a year old into the record, so you got a lot.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, maybe we are. That's kind of been our vibe since we started this band. Just been do something different, hit this industry with a different vibe, and that's what we'll always bring, really, I think.
Yeah. So you think with the next record, maybe you could do something that nobody's maybe ever experienced before on Greater Than, but it'll still be Shvpes in the end.
Yeah, definitely. We've all got very different interests in the band. Each of us individually have different like genres that we're into. Yeah. And we kind of bring it together and kind of mold it and shape it into something that kind of makes sense as a whole, rather than just really sporadic, random music. But I think we still got quite a lot of music we can experiment with that we necessarily stayed away from on this album. Like we're doing Greater Than, it kind of we took certain elements, but I think we could take a little bit more next time.
One other question I was curious about is because I saw you guys at the Gramercy Theater, which is an awesome stage. Then I saw you guys at St. Vitus, which is awesome, but a much smaller one. And then you played the Echo stage today, or and which is massive. Yeah. How different is it playing on a stage depending on the size? I'd imagine that from venue to venue, it's a different experience, just in terms of sound and lighting, but even size and the way you guys move around.
Yeah, it is different. Each venue, totally different sound. It's almost like you stand up there every day like, oh, my amp doesn't sound like that last night. But it's cool. I really enjoy outdoor shows. They don't sound the best on stage, but they rock.
It's a different vibe, especially like today. The crowd are quite far away, so I think you don't really connect with people like individually as much as you do. When we did that St. Vitus show, it was like, obviously we were basically in the crowd. We had to walk through the crowd to get on the stage. So instantly, we're basically like in it as well. When you play a show like this, there is that kind of distance. So you more or less play to a whole rather than individuals. So when you play a smaller show, you can see people's faces more, and you can kind of interact with people and vibe with people. When you do these really big shows, it's just a sea of people. You occasionally see a few faces, but really it's quite overwhelming. So you're just kind of very different. You kind of play to a whole or play to like certain people.
Yeah. I think you get the best of both worlds because of the big show like this. You're playing to more people, you get your name out there more. But I mean, nothing will beat having a sweaty guy just fall on the pedal board at a show.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. No barrier, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So before we go, I'd like to thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you,
now
man.
that Greater Than is a year old, could we be expecting new music anytime soon, or is there any tours coming up that you would like to promote?
We are working on new music at the moment. Yeah, we're just doing some demos at the moment, and just hopefully watch this space. But we should be doing something pretty soon.
Yeah, hopefully next year should be dropping something.
Yeah,
awesome. For next year.
All right,
yeah, man.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much.
Thank you, man.
Yep.
Thank you,
I'll see you guys in another month.
Been a pleasure.
Everybody, we are here with Shvpes. Pick up Greater Than if you haven't already. Be on the lookout for new stuff coming soon.
Go
we'll
get
see you
that.
next time on Heavy New York as we invade Columbus, Ohio.
Hey.